Hi there, I'm Angela Brown, and this is Ask a House Cleaner. This is a show where you get to ask a house cleaning question, and I get to help you find an answer. Today's question comes from someone who wants to know, should men be expected to do housework? My answer is yes, they should. Now, should men, as in our husbands, be expected to do housework? Or should our children be expected to do housework? And how about the women? Okay, now it used to be back in the olden days that the men would go out and they would earn a living to support the family. And the woman would stay at home and she would raise the children and she would do all the housework. And so she was the homemaker. That's the term that they used way back then. Well, welcome to a modern society where there are lots of divorced families and there are single parents and there are stay-at-home dads that are running the whole show and there are stay-at-home moms that are running the whole show. And so the responsibility has changed. There's been a global shift in the expectations of that old traditional Norman Rockwell image of our society. We don't live like that anymore. And so should men be expected to do housework? Let me ask you this. Does the man live in your house? If a man lives in your house, then yes, he should be expected to do housework. And I say this not coming from a place of don't hire a house cleaner or don't get the help you need or don't force somebody to do household chores because you don't want to. What I'm saying is let's share the responsibility. There are lots and lots of parents who are doing all of the household chores. They're doing all of the landscaping and the yard work. They're providing for the family. They're raising the kids, and they feel completely overwhelmed and underappreciated. So if there's someone else that's living in your house that can help share those burdens, yeah, let's get them involved. Now, here's what happens when you get someone else involved in your household chores. You get to a point where you are overwhelmed and you need help. So you get to learn to communicate with those people and say, hey, listen, I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I need help this week doing X, Y, Z. And you give them the chores that they can help you with. And then once they complete those chores, here's what's happened. They feel needed and important because you included them. They have a sense of ownership now, because a guy that never, ever, ever helps out at the house or does any of his own yard work, he's not going to take ownership of that property. This is not a place he calls home. So you want to find an opportunity where they can get involved because now they're taking ownership. They're taking pride in their home because now they're participating in the activities that go on there. And this goes for women, this goes for kids, girls and boys. We should give all of our kids responsibilities. Because what this teaches them is as they go out into the real world, they're going to have responsibilities. I know a whole entire generation that feels really entitled and they don't feel like they should have to make their beds. They shouldn't have to clean their rooms. They shouldn't have to pick up after themselves. They shouldn't take their dishes to the sink when the meal is over. They're completely entitled and they act like they don't owe anybody anything. Now, I met a woman 20 years ago who had kids. And she says, well, I never raised my kids to have to do chores because I wanted them to have a childhood experience. I didn't want them to have responsibilities. We'll deal with that when they get older. Weird. Okay, so flash forward 20 years. Now she's got 3 grown boys that are in their 40s. And they live at home and they spend all day playing their video games. And they play with each other and they have these competitions and they're really good at what they do. But guess what? She's still providing the living. She's still doing all the housework. She's still taking care of all of their needs because they're 40 and they never moved away from home and they never grew up and they have 0 life skills. And she's completely overwhelmed and she's completely stressed out and she's completely exhausted. And she's like, well, they should go get jobs. Guess what, Mom? You trained them. They didn't have to. You never taught them any skills to take out into the real world. There was no expectation. There were no deadlines. There was no communicating what you needed. And now they've just stayed at home and they're leeching off of you. How is that helpful? So should men help around the house and should they do housework? Yes, absolutely. And so should women and so should kids. There's nothing wrong with people taking ownership of their home. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I need some extra help this week. And as you learn to communicate those skills transfer into other areas of your life, like jobs and relationships. And then there will come a time when you can't do what is requested of you. And you have to communicate that as well. And then you learn to make other decisions. My husband asked me one day, we have a leak in our roof. Can you climb up on the roof and fix the leak? I'm a handyman. Sure, I can do that. And I thought to myself, actually, I can't. I don't have a ladder that tall. I've never fixed a leaky roof. I don't know how to do that. I don't have the proper tools. And so realizing it was out of my scope, I said, I would like to help you, but this is not the right job for me. And he said, oh, great, let's hire a handyman. We'll hire someone who does this. So you get the opportunity then to communicate and say, I don't know how to do that. And then either the person can teach you if they know how, or you can hire someone who can. I have a dear friend of mine. She's an elderly woman whose husband just died. The husband paid all the bills. And unfortunately, the wife never learned how. And she has no idea what any of the bills are. She has no idea how much money on a regular basis their family spends. She didn't have access to any of his passwords, so she couldn't log into any of his accounts. He had not signed her over as a signator person on any of their accounts. And so she wasn't authorized to access any of the accounts. And so she would call in and say, hey, can I access this account? My husband passed away. They'd say, I'm sorry, we're not authorized to talk to you. So by holding their responsibilities and holding fast to them, and I'm the husband and I pay all the bills and whatever, you're doing a huge disservice to your wife. If you're the wife and you're holding firm to all of the responsibilities of the house, should anything happen to you, heaven forbid, your husband doesn't know how to do whatever it is that you do. A dear friend of mine gets a phone call the other day from her husband, and her husband says, hey, how do you do a load of laundry? Where do we keep the laundry soap? What do I turn the dials on? She had never taught him how to do a load of laundry. Here's a grown adult man who does not know how to do a load of laundry. That's a disservice. You're not helping him by doing it all for him. And then you're going to feel overwhelmed and underappreciated. So yeah, get your family members involved. Teach them how to do what you do. If nothing else, rotate chores on a regular basis. This month you do all the laundry. Next month, let one of your siblings do it. Next month, let one of your kids do it. Next month, and rotate throughout your house until everybody knows all the chores. If something tragic happens, and I hope it doesn't, but if it does, then you all have the life skills you need. And then as you grow up and you move away from home, you all have the life skills to live on your own or to be a single parent or whatever the modern society provides. So should men do housework? Yes, they should. Alrighty, and that's my 2 cents. I hope that helps. Leave your comments in the notes below because I want to hear how you feel about men doing household chores. And until I meet you again, leave the world a cleaner place than when you found it.